everyone, I'm Katie, one of the journalists from Rural Fest 2020, and today I'm really excited to be joined by Lottie from the modern electronica dream pop band Lunar Pines. So hi, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
So first off, could you give a bit of an introduction to yourself and who Lunar Pines is?
Yeah, sure, it's a duo, so it's me and Rob, he's the drummer, and it's something I started 4 years ago or something, but we've only really started, releasing music and stuff this year properly, and it's been going really well so far. But yeah, it's basically just a project that I started in the second year of uni, in 2016, and now it's gone through loads of different things and loads of different, I've worked with loads of different people and collaborated with loads of different people, and now it's kind of what it is. So it's me and Rob.
That's cool. Yeah. I saw a really interesting quote on your website by Earmilk that said that your music is like a mixture of the two bands, the Japanese House and Bon Iver.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, could you tell me about what artists are currently influencing your music at the moment?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'd say definitely those two are like massive. I think the Japanese, we often get, I don't know if you know the Japanese House, but we often get compared to the Japanese House. But I'd say, yeah, Bon Iver, what at the moment? I'm listening to a lot of like Taiko, Tourist,
Cool.
a lot of like instrumental producers. I listen to a lot of post-rock music, so like soundtrack music, like This Will Destroy You, Explosions in the Sky. And then I also listen to like the more poppy side, like the new 1975 album. I'm a big fan of. I'd say that's a big, and the newer Bon Iver album as well, to be fair. Yeah, and the newer Marika Hackman album.
I remember I saw on YouTube a video.
That's kind of what I've been listening to.
Yeah. There's a bit of lag on the internet for people watching, so sorry about the overlap. On a YouTube channel, I watched an interview of you talking about the 1975. And I understand that you produce your own music. Is that still the same?
Yeah, we do, yeah. For us, yeah, it is. So I write everything. Rob sometimes helps out on the drum part. And then most of the time I write it, or I write it with a friend or something. We have a few, nothing released yet, but we've got a few tunes that have some guest singers on. And then actually that's a lie, we've got Ryan on the first two singles, so he's singing on them. But yeah, no, so I mix it and then I master it as well. We kind of started it off like that, and we have tried like outsourcing mixing and mastering to friends and producers and stuff that we know, but it's just never quite what we want. I don't know, for some reason it just works so much better when we do it ourselves, because we know exactly. I think we control freaks, maybe. Yeah, that's what it is.
It reminds me of the artist.
But yeah, so we do all the production and the mixing and the mastering. A lot of people have said, why do you do your own mastering, which is a fair point, because you're not really supposed to, but whatever, it works for us. So yeah, I'm sure eventually we'll probably also it's cheap to do it that way. Another bonus. You don't have to, and you can do it all in your own time. You don't have to like wait on loads of people to do loads of new mixes and all of that. You can just kind of get on with it and do it. And it makes me better, is that I studied production at uni, and it makes me better as a producer. I produce for a ton of other bands as well. So yeah, it just makes me better at what I'm doing, really. So I'm fine with putting the time in, Yeah.
What's the creative process of writing music?
For us, it varies really. I think lately I've been writing more than I ever have at the moment, obviously, because there's so much time. but I think guitar, I've been starting with the guitar a lot more now, whereas I used to start with drum beats and things like that more. I used to always start with the drum beat and then like bring synths in. I think for us, like it used to be much more about like the sounds we were making, other than like I don't know how to explain this really, but I would never really class myself as someone who's incredible at music theory. Like, I'm decent at it, but I'm not like, it's not like James Blake, who uses a ton of diminished chords and stuff in his music. I don't tend to do that. It's more about the sound that we're making. The song can be 2-3 chords, but with the guitar, I find it a lot easier to kind of go further into that and like make it a bit more interesting. So yeah, and then it's just coming up with like a melody idea, and I don't know, it's different for every time really. But
yeah. Has this creative process changed a lot because of lockdown? Do you guys still collaborate and make music together, or is it individual?
Yeah, I mean, for us it's kind of always been mostly me, but Rob, it's definitely more difficult, but I'm able to send Rob like stems of music, and then he can like write beats over the top and stuff like that. But it's all a bit of a nightmare, like it's a bit of a logistical nightmare doing it like that. It's a lot easier when you're just sitting in a room and you can be like, right, what do you think of this, what do you think of that, rather than sending 50 different versions of something to people back and forth all the time. So yeah, I don't know, I think it has definitely changed. I picked up the guitar a lot more when I'm writing lately, so I think that's changed a lot. I think it's added a lot more guitar to our music, and also it's just kind of, I think it's made melodies better because I'm actually thinking more about what I'm singing, and you know what I mean. So it's I don't know, yeah, it's made it a lot more musical. I don't know if that's the way of saying it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, what's been inspiring the context behind the songs in your music? Is there any personal stories that go into the music you write?
Yeah, I think obviously it depends on the song, but I think definitely I think our music is massively personal. I don't think we have a song that isn't like massively personal, especially to me, obviously, because I write them. But I think in terms of themes, we write a lot about, and we've been picked up a lot on like mental health issues and things like that. For me, like I've had very big issues with that, and so that music's like a great way of kind of writing down those kind of feelings, and I think we write about loads of different stuff. One of the guys I used to collaborate a lot with, he's on the last 2 singles that we put out. We put one out end of May and we put one out end of March, and they were called The House We Lived In and It Takes Time, and both of those, along with like loads of other demos I wrote with a friend of mine who lived in Texas, who passed away like I think December 2018, and I still have those songs, like I'm still working on those songs. So I think a lot of those songs ended up being like about him as well. I think that's quite a big thing for me in my music. I write a lot about that situation. So yeah.
Yeah. Will lockdown be influencing the content of your songs now? Because there's a lot of mental health issues going around with being isolated from friends and loved ones.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, like I thought when this started that I was going to completely like not be able to deal with it. But actually, I wouldn't say I like it, but I've dealt with it a lot better than I thought I was going to. I live in London with my grandmother at the minute, and I just have I work as well. I work from home, but all of my spare time pretty much I just spend making music. I'm never like bored or not busy, or I've always got stuff to do. But yeah, I definitely would say that I've been writing a bit about like the lockdown experience, but not much, to be honest. I'd say that there's a couple of songs. I think in the past 3 months, whatever, I've written about 30, 40 demos that are pretty much done. And I'd say maybe 2 or 3 of them is about like being frustrated and being locked inside. But yeah, I don't know. I don't, it's not that different from how I usually am. Like the only difference is obviously you can't see your mates and like go out and go to the pub and things, but my personal life, I'm very lucky. Like obviously terrible things are happening, but for me it's not actually changed that much. Yeah, personally.
And it's good that you can produce your own music as well, so you can work from home still.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I've got loads of friends who are in bands that they actually need a studio and they actually need to go and do, you know, they actually need to go into a studio and produce with a producer and have a mixing engineer and all of that, and that's pretty much impossible now. So yeah, for me, I can literally just do the whole song start to finish in my room, which is kind of cool for me. Yeah. So
you see, you're in London at the moment. I know you were based in Leeds. Is that because you studied here?
Leeds College of Music. I graduated in Leeds, so yeah, for a couple of years, and I moved here to September last year.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not been here for that long actually, 9 months, but it feels like, I mean, I knew it before anyway, but it feels like very much like my home now in a weird way. Although London's not the most homely place, but yeah, it feels much more like home, which is good.
You played in some really interesting venues like the Brudenell Music Canteen. Do you have any plans in the future for returning and performing in different venues?
In Leeds?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think our last gig in Leeds, it was ages ago. I think it was at like Belgrave or something. It was ages ago. Oh no, I do. It was, we did a headline at Hedra House in the centre in January, just before our first single. Yeah, no, for sure. I love Leeds and I love the venues. I know loads of people there, so it's all like it's really nice to play in. And there's so many like cool venues. I'd say Brudenell is maybe my favourite one. But I love small ones as well, like a Porto is great in the centre. Belgrave, Hedro, Wardrobe, they're all like the decent sized ones, with like amazing sound as well. So yeah, but I mean, Leeds has got like a venue for everything and every size as well, which is really cool. Which I didn't expect when I first moved up there. But yeah, it's got pretty much everything. We used to do a lot of Sofa Sound shows. And they were always, we did one, they're always in like weird places. But yeah, no, I love playing in Leeds. I do. So yeah, hopefully if we ever get to play a gig again, and we're looking at, I think people are talking about November, maybe for gigs. But I don't know, that keeps moving about, so we'll see. I'm not really putting any pressure on gigs at the minute because there's no point. But yeah.
Because of the lack of being able to play to a live performance in person, have you been using social media to do performances?
Not really, to be honest. I think because I work for a record label, and the minute this lockdown thing happened, it's all anyone on my label and also anywhere else seem to be doing, and I kind of sick of it after like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, and then I kind of tuned out of them. And then in the past couple of weeks, I've really been enjoying, like, I think people have been coming up with some really cool ideas. and I've seen loads of like festival days and things like that, which are really cool. We've done one, I think we did one live session of the last single, which was fun. It was really like, it was a bit of a pain to put together. You know, Rob recorded the drums, I recorded the guitar, and then separate video I recorded the synths and then recorded the vocals. So it was all in different videos stuck together, but it's actually a lot more painful than it looks to actually put it together. So yeah, we haven't done too much like live session stuff, but yeah, hopefully we will do soon more of that. And I've also had like some tech issues recently. My Mac kind of died, so I'm using a PC that isn't really great for making music. So yeah, but yeah, so hopefully soon. We've got a single coming out next month, so hopefully around that we can do something.
Cool. Yeah, could you tell me more about that single?
Yeah, sure. It's called. We haven't actually announced it or anything, but I mean, it's Light Blue. And we're doing it through a label called Modern Sky, small label. They're really, really cool. They've got bands like Slow Readers Club, and we're also doing it through our friends in Close Up Promotions, who are really, really and they also work with Modern Sky through them. In March, that was the last gig we played. Actually, that was like a week before lockdown. Yeah, that single it sounds kind of different to what we've done so far. It sounds a bit more like upbeat, a bit more dream poppy. But yeah, no, I really like it, and I think it's maybe our catchiest one that we've released so far. So yeah, I'm hoping that it goes really well, and it's our first time working with Modern Sky and Close Up. So yeah, because whenever you start working with new people, you always like, you never know which way it's going to go. You know, like I'm sure it's going to go really well, but you know, you never know like what opportunities and stuff you're going to get from it, and yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah.
Sounds cool. What inspired you to take part in Rural Fest this year?
About it, and I originally was going to do a live session for it, and you guys a couple of is a fun song that I managed to film like a week ago. So I hope you like that. And yeah, so it just seems like a really fun thing to get involved with. Like I say, we haven't really been doing much of that stuff in lockdown. We haven't really been involved in much of it, so it's kind of nice to like do something like that. I know people who are doing this kind of, a lot of this kind of thing, but yeah, for us it's kind of nice for it to be, you know, like a couple of times for us to do this kind of thing, rather than, you know, doing like live sessions every day, which is what a lot of artists do.
Yeah, that's cool. Can you give us a lowdown of what you've been personally doing? So what other things apart from music have you been up to in lockdown?
Oh, it's going to be a short list. I've been working. I work, but you know, that's all kind of in my room. My room's pretty small and it's just full of stuff. So like everything kind of gets on top of each other. So I can't really distinguish things between each other. I tried to read a lot more at the start. I started reading, and all the books I started reading I didn't finish. I started reading this book called Gilead, which is supposed to be incredible, but I just didn't get it. And then I started reading Girl, Woman, Other, which is like the thing at the minute. I haven't finished it. That is actually really good, but I get distracted and then I just don't finish them. So I've been trying to do that. What else have I been doing? I've been walking a lot more because it's the only time you can go out of the house. I saw a few friends, like it was my birthday, and that was very surreal. I didn't really know how to speak to people at that point. point. So that was fun. But to be honest, it's going to be a pretty boring answer because I've literally just been like practicing and doing music stuff in my spare time. I haven't really picked up any new hobbies. A lot of my friends started picking up like yoga and things like that. I thought about it. I just do it. It's just everywhere. But again, not something that I've picked up. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
just try on Sunday. On Sunday morning, we have a yoga session in the morning for Rural Fest.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my sister, she lives in Finsbury Park, North London, and she has been doing yoga like every morning on Instagram Live. There's this woman who does it at like 6 a.m. And she messages me every morning. She's like, you should be doing Instagram Live with me. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, no, that sounds cool. Yeah, a few people have been doing those kind of yoga sessions. Like Nina Nesbitt, I don't know if you know her. She's on the label that I work for, and she does a lot of those yoga sessions. It's a great idea to be fair.
Yeah. Have you thought about live streaming your creative process, like how you make the music on the guitar?
I have thought about that, and my friend Sam, who produces all the stuff for one of my best friends called George Gretton, he's like an insane artist. If you get a second to check him out, he did that. He did like a couple of live streams explaining the mixing process and like how he put the songs together, which I found really interesting. And I watched James Blake live stream about him talking about mixing. But no, I haven't done it myself. I have thought about it though. Also like Lewis Watson, who's a mate of mine from Oxford, who's also on the label that I work for, he does it. He does like guitar run throughs and stuff like that, and he's got like 3-4 cameras set up. I don't know how the hell he does it, and he does it all live, and he syncs it all up. I really don't know how he does it. I need to ask him actually. That kind of side of tech completely goes out of my head, you know, when you get like 8 cameras and they're all live streaming. So yeah, no, but I used to do a class in Leeds for women in music production, because I used to work in a studio in Leeds called Eiger Studios, and like on Saturdays we'd have kids and also, you know, 25-30 year olds or however old women come in, and I'd teach them like about processes and things like that. So it'd be kind of cool to do a live stream, that kind of thing. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in watching you do that. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, no, I think I need to ask Sam. That's what I'll do. I'll ask Sam how he did it. Yeah, and you don't see many girls doing that kind of thing, so it would be kind of cool. It's all guys usually doing that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Did you find that during your uni course as well, that it was mostly guys?
I found that throughout my whole life, to be honest. I started playing music. I started playing drums when I was about 10, and then I got pretty good at drums after like I think I was gonna go to uni to study drums, and then I kind of started more on guitar and synths, and I got more into electronic music because when I was a kid I used to listen to a lot of like punk music, which I still listen to some of it now, to be honest. But I did find all the time, especially in drums, because you know drums is usually seen as a very male instrument. I did find that, yeah, it's you know, and I've worked in so many music jobs. I've like worked in shops, you know, like with all these metal guys, music shops with all these metal guys, saying that like, I think one of them actually said to me once that metal music was a man's world or something like that. But yeah, you get it all the time, especially with production. Like whenever we play live, well not whenever, but a few times we've played live, and the sound engineer will be a bit like, you know, he'll look at you like, do you know how to turn your amp on, kind of, you know, and you can just feel it. Like it's not direct, maybe not direct things that they say, it's more body language and the way they talk to you. But yeah, you do sense it, but I don't really care, to be honest. It doesn't really faze me. I think maybe I should care about it more, but I'm too busy getting on with stuff, so it's not really something that I've never found it's like held me back, but yeah, if anything, I think it makes you a bit more like interesting and original. Like I used to work in a studio with 6 other guys who were all a lot older than me, who produced, and one of them was, I don't know how old he is actually, so I'm not going to say how old I think he is, but he's pretty old, and he did like Kaiser Chiefs and stuff like that, I think, Sabian or something, those kind of bands. And yeah, I definitely found a lot of, I mean, there were things said to me at times where I was like, that's not okay, but you kind of just, so it is something that a lot of females in music that I think are doing stuff about, which is really cool. Like, I don't know if you've heard it, like an Australian punk band. I don't know if you call them punk.
No, I've never heard of that
too
before.
heavy of a word. Yeah, they're very like, I mean, you see it, in all of their songs, they're very like, they stand up for kind of women's rights in music. And I think but yeah, they've got some really cool, interesting interviews about that actually on YouTube. One where they played the Opera House and the guy was like, you're never going to be able to fill it out because you're a female band, and then they managed to like sell it out within a few hours or something. Yeah, it's they're a cool band.
Cool. Do you ever think of doing an all-female production piece for Luna Pines or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with loads of different people. There were a couple of people who were in the band, like when it was just kind of an early project, called Liv and Ellie, and so it was all girls at that point. Ellie used to do violin, so we had a lot of string sections. Fun actually, and something I want to bring back. And Liv, who used to sing, so that was really cool. So yeah, I worked a lot with Martha from the Elephant Trees. They're a Manchester-based band. Worked a lot with her and Natasha, their manager. They're really, really cool. And like loads of artists in Leeds, people I used to live with and be friends with, like Cara Hammond, Hannah Stabin. Yeah, I don't think the industry or any scenes are really, from what I see anyway, in the kind of grassroots scenes, I think they're full of women from what I can see,
Yeah,
I think you find it obviously less in like the rocky genres maybe. In singer-songwriter, there's no short. We've worked with a lot of girls before, and a lot of girls have been in this project. It's definitely very female focused, not intentionally, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, it just happened to be that way.
Do you have any projects coming up for after lockdown? Have you thought about what you're going to do?
Just kind of really, we've got a single, this single that I just talked about, Bright Blue, and then we've got another one, which is kind of locked in, which will be, I think it's like beginning September. We've got a couple music videos that we're shooting, which we really can't wait to do, because we're doing that with a good friend of mine called Imogen Harrison, who's insane. She like does the music, the video production for like the 1975 and bands like that. So I'm really excited to get her on the direction, on the being a director for these two. That's going to be really cool. So yeah, those are 2 projects. We're doing 2 music videos. Going to try and get gigging by the end of the year, hopefully. Other projects I'm working, I think I'm kind of doing a few demos for other artists, but it's like really early days, so I don't really know what's going to happen with that. And I'm just doing a load of collaboration with friends, and yeah, that's about it really. just kind of taking everything as it kind of comes, not trying to plan too much into the future, because you never know when it's going to be thrown in your face. So yeah, there's no point in planning, really.
I was wondering to ask you, where did the name Lunar Pines come from?
Where did it come from? Well, it kind of didn't come from anything really. Like I remember I was starting the project up in 2016, and me and my friend George, who I've mentioned, he actually was the original guy who started it with me, the project, and we couldn't think of a name. It went through so many different names. One of which I really liked, which I kind of sometimes wish that we stuck to, which was Magic Hour Soundtrack. I really liked that name, and I still like it. But so basically he wrote that down a list of names that he wanted to call it, and then I wrote down a list, and we ended up just taking a word from each list, and I think his word was lunar or something, and my word was pines. I don't know, it's a terrible story, but since then I've kind of figured that, like, because our artwork is our artwork like looks like our band is called Lunar Pines, which I really like. It's all done by Esme Hallam, who's insane, and she makes everything look so cohesive, and it always features like two silhouettes and, you know, different settings with pine trees and moons and stuff. And I don't know, a lot of people have said to me, like, our music sounds like the name, but they can't really like go any further into explaining what they mean by that. So I kind of like that. It kind of sounds like the name. And I think also, like, I'm from Holland. I'm from like a small town in Holland. And it's basically like it's just surrounded by woods. And so the house I used to live in was like in the woods amongst all the pine trees. And I only ever go there like now in December, January, and it's such a dark time of year. So whenever I go back there, I'm like, this is the perfect like setting for that name, you know what I mean? Because it's like dark, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know. But I've grown to like it. I remember that Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters was like, if I ever thought this band was going to be big, I would never have called it the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Terrible name. But I think if I was in that position and we ever got, you know, to a point where we were even a tenth as famous as them, I wouldn't be regretting the name. Like, I think I like it. I think it fits, and I don't think we'd change it. No.
Yeah, that's really interesting how it circles back to where you come from.
Yeah, it's weird that. I mean, I tend to, I tend to like attach meaning a lot, like in my own, like even when I hear songs that aren't my songs, I tend to like attach them straight to like things in my own life. So I tend to do that with things. So I guess that's what I did there. But
yeah, it's kind of like something meaningless that ended up having a lot of meaning.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. And you know, I think the name, it's not long and you can kind of remember it and you can spell it. I hate it when bands have names you can't spell. That winds me up. So I think it's just a name that works. And I think it looks nice when it's written as well. So
cool. Have you lived in quite a few different places then, since you're from Holland and then moved to Leeds and London as well?
Yeah, well, I was born in Holland. I was born in a town called Apeldoorn, and then my dad still lives there, and a lot of my family. And then I moved to Oxford when I was, I think I was like 2 or 3, and then I moved about a bit, different houses and things. And then I stayed. Well, it was pretty much in Oxford like my whole childhood, and then I moved to Leeds when I think I was 19, and then back down to London. So I haven't actually lived in that many places, but I feel like I have. I'm like one of those people who I don't feel like I have. Well, you know, when people are like, "Oh, where are you from?" and you know, you've got an answer. I don't really have an answer for that because I'm not really, you know, I can't really say I'm from Holland. I can, I guess, but you know, I didn't live there for very long, but then all my family live there, so it's like, and I've got a Dutch passport, so it's like, but I also lived in Oxford for so much of my life, and I don't sound Dutch, so I don't know, yeah, so it's a weird one. But, yeah.
Have the different music scenes in those places influenced your sound?
Yeah, I think so. I think the music scene in Holland is really cool. There's a lot of electronic music going on. There's a lot of like techno, you know, DJs are very big in Holland. You know, nights out are like a huge thing in Holland. You know, they've got like so many raves that last for like 8 days or something, you know. So, but so that side of music definitely. But I think, you know, I think the Leeds music scene to me, I mean, to everyone else is probably going to be different, but to me, I think it's like, what was it? This like kind of soul music. What's that? It's completely gone out of my head now. That genre that everyone used to do at Elcom. It's like funk music, you know, soul music, a lot of jazz music. There's a lot of like jazz bars, a lot of jazz music. So no, to be honest, I don't think the Leeds scene really influenced. I think there's a lot of bands in our scene that were really cool, like Peaks, who I'm a huge fan of, Laminate Animal, who are no more. They aren't a band anymore, but they're probably one of my favourite bands ever, to be honest. And Thomas Truman from that band, he started Doco Sounds, which is incredible as well. And bands like Air as well, they're really cool. So, you know, there's a small number of bands in that kind of electronic alternative dream poppy worlds, but for the rest of it, I don't know, that it seemed very much like it was very much like soul and jazz focused, which is cool, but it's just not something that I don't think really has. It's hard to say that stuff hasn't influenced your music though, because at the end of the day, like, we're all influenced by classical music and jazz music, like if you go far back enough, because the guys you were listening to other people, and then those people were listening, you know what I mean? So yeah, and we did do quite a lot of classical music courses and lessons in my course, and I think classical music in a way has influenced me like through film music, because I love film music. I'm a big
I was gonna say, I showed my friend your music and he said, oh wow, is that a film track or a video game track? So yeah.
A lot of people say that, actually. I think one of my friends was like, this music should be in like an indie, you know, movie. And I think that's very much true. I think we grew up, both of us, like watching. I watch a lot of films and I love film music. Like my favourite movie is Friday Night Lights, and that's all scored by Explosions in the Sky. It's one of my favourite bands. And then bands like This Will Destroy You, who I mentioned before, and that kind of post-rocky soundtrack stuff I love. And then I also love like the John Hughes kind of 80s soundtracks, you know, like Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles and stuff like that. So I think the 80s music is a massive like influence on us, and a lot of that is through movies, really. So music for I think for that reason, and has ended up sounding kind of like a mix between like an 80s film soundtrack and like, I don't know, like a modern like dream pop album. I don't know.
Yeah, you've actually answered all of my questions now, so
awesome.
Thank you for that. Is there anything you wanted to say that I haven't covered?
No, all good. We covered loads of stuff there. Like I say, the single's out July 30th, so if anyone wants to check that out, obviously it's a little bit of a while, but and thank you very much for having me on. And,
no problem.
And there'll be there's a couple of live sessions I'm going to be sending you guys. That
we're looking forward to listening to you on Sunday.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's great. It was nice to meet you.
Yes, you too.